Finally, we have some news to talk about today. Ever since Randy Arozarena was cleared of all the charges and he's not going to be prosecuted, there has not been anything to talk about. Well, today that is not the case because we have two bombshell reports. One, the Phillies straight up lied to Bryce Harper's face. If I was Mr. Bryce, I would demand for a trade yesterday. Now, a lot of people have been saying that can't happen because Bryce Harper has a no-trade clause. You can waive the no-trade clause just like Giancarlo Stanton did. He accepted a trade to the Yankees, so don't think it can't happen. If Bryce Harper wants out, he can get out. Nothing can stop him if he really wants that. And then also the team that I'm rocking with, the Blue Jays. Now, they were great in 2020. I thought that they were going to do some damage in the playoffs. I thought that they were going to be sneaky because Grichuk and Biggio and everyone else, Teoscar Hernandez, they were having fantastic seasons, but they were missing that extra, that push. And I think that George Springer might be the missing piece to get the Blue Jays into a solidified playoff spot and then maybe a second round, third round World Series position because Springer, if you haven't checked out his stats in the playoffs, yes, I know 2017 happened, but even this year, combined with Carlos Correa, those guys can hit. So they don't need trash cans to do some damage in the postseason. Let's just stop hating. That's a fact. So those are the juiciest stories that I want to talk about today. Bryce Harper getting lied to and the reports that George Springer might be heading to Toronto. But before we get into those, I have to show you this graphic, okay? Are you looking? Everyone make sure that you're looking at the screen. This is a simple best pitchers of all time list. We can debate, number 10 through 2 all day long. But does anyone see the number one spot that Brian Kenny chose? Lefty Grove. He chose Lefty Grove as the greatest pitcher in the modern era. You simply cannot do that. I am not poo-pooing Lefty Grove. I think that he was amazing during his prime. I mean, there's a few number of pitchers in the history of baseball that have his resume, but he is not better than Randy Johnson. He is not better than Sandy Koufax or Nolan Ryan, both of which were left off this list entirely. So in the comment section down below, it's a lot of work, so you don't have to. I would ask that you guys please let me know your top 10 starting pitchers of all time. Maybe we could turn this into a series where we talk about the top 10 best starting pitchers, best shortstops, best third basemen. If you guys want to see a series in which we do that, leave a like on the video, leave a comment. But yeah, Lefty Grove at number 1, that does not sit well with me, as well as Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan, people call him a compiler. Yes, he has a lot of strikeouts, but he also has 7 no-hitters. 7 no-hit performances. You have to put him in the top 10. This is egregious. Brian Kenny should be fired immediately. I'm just kidding. I like Brian Kenny. His passion for baseball is immense. I don't hate the guy. In fact, I think he's pretty entertaining. So Brian Kenny, just fix this list and we should be good going forward. Now let's talk about Bryce Harper and the fact that he was lied to by the owner of the Phillies, John Middleton. So when Bryce Harper signed, the Phillies came out and said that they don't care if they have to pay luxury tax. All that means is that they're spending so much money that MLB tries to really, it's not a salary cap per se, but it almost acts as a ceiling that you can't go above that. But if you do, you're going to have to pay a buttload in taxes. And the owner, John Middleton, said, you know what, we just signed Bryce Harper. If we have to go above and beyond, if we have to pay, a crazy amount of taxes, we will do that. Well, his tone has shifted fast forwarding to 2020 because he just said that they can no longer afford JT Realmuto because the Phillies organization lost $2 billion in 2020. First of all, you should never say that you can't re-sign the player that you want to re-sign. The Phillies desperately need JT Realmuto because he was really the captain of that offense last year. And then also, he just straight up lied. He said that the team lost $2 billion. That never happened. Now, take this with a grain of salt. It's a lot of money, but it's not $2 billion. The Phillies, as evident by the picture my dad sent me today, at the bottom of that picture, it says that the Phillies lost $145 million. Now, when I look at my E-Trade and I see that my Apple stock went down 5 cents, I freak out a little bit. So I understand that whether you lose $2 billion or $145 million, it's still a lot of money. But the fact that he chose to go the route of hyperbole and exaggerating that, I don't know if he just chose to do that or if it was miscommunication and he just wasn't aware of the facts, but they did not lose $2 billion, and every team has lost money. Okay, the Phillies are not alone in this instance, and if they can't re-sign JT Realmuto, that is a lie to Bryce Harper, because they're signing B-level pieces and expecting A-level production. Didi Gregorius, he's good, but he is not Francisco Lindor. Andrew McCutchen, he's been solid, but he's no Mike Trout. And Bryce Harper was trying to get Mike Trout. It just wasn't going to happen because he's going to get paid $45 million a year. So here's what I would do if I owned the Phillies. What I would have done is I would have given Theo Epstein $25 to $30 million, and because Theo Epstein, he pretty much is retiring from baseball for the next year because he just wants to chill and relax with his family. He was the former GM of the Cubs. He won World Series in 2002, I believe, 2004 with the Red Sox, and then in 2016 with the Cubs. So he's pretty much the trash cans to the Astros organization. Theo Epstein is a living cheat code because he takes bum franchises, I shouldn't say bum, franchises that are in complete disarray. They can't find a formula to winning World Series, and he corrects that. The Boston Red Sox, he crushed the curse of the Bambino. The Cubs hadn't won in 106 years or something like that, and he conquered both of those. So he is a living, breathing cheat code, and unfortunately, he rejected the Phillies. That's how bad it is, or he just doesn't want to be in the game of baseball for a year. He wants to relax. I can't blame him. So because they can't hire Theo Epstein, you really have to go to steps 2 and 3. You have to sign James McCann tomorrow, because if you can't afford JT Realmuto, you have to face the facts and save face and sign James McCann. If you look at the offensive stats, James McCann was actually amazing in 2020, and he wasn't even a full-time starter. He had 7 home runs in 31 games, and on top of that, he had a 144 OPS plus. That is 20 points higher than JT Realmuto. So we have OPS, and an OPS plus actually adjust for the ballpark that player plays in. So James McCann is an elite hitter, and that's who you need to fill in the shoes and the hole left behind by JT Realmuto. So I would start with that, and then I would immediately try and pry away Liam Hendriks from the Oakland A's, because the A's are always the moneyball team. They don't really shell out a lot of money. They probably most likely can't afford Liam Hendriks. The Phillies still have money to spend, so I think what they need to do is they need to sign James McCann, and they need Liam Hendriks to be their closer, because their bullpen in 2020 was historically bad. Brandon Workman sucked. All of the other guys that they acquired, I can't remember, David Hale and Heath Hembry and a couple other different pieces, trash. They botched the injury of Sir Anthony Dominguez. They chose to delay his Tommy John surgery. Now he's going to miss this season. The Phillies are an absolute abomination for a franchise, and I feel bad for Bryce Harper because they promised him something, and now they're going back on their word. And I understand that the global pandemic had something to do with it, but to say you lost $2 billion when it was really $145 million, and say that you can't afford JT Realmuto, that is never going to sit well. I remember when the GM of the Indians said, "You better enjoy Francisco Lindor while he's here," pretty much inferring that they're not going to re-sign him. Just enjoy him while you can. It's just, you cannot say that because you have fans paying money to see the best product that you can put on the field, and what they're saying is the exact opposite of that. So that is the Phillies saga in a nutshell. I feel bad for Phillies fans. Let's talk about the Blue Jays, because they are actually in advanced talk, according to the reports on MLB Network, that they are trying to acquire the services of George Springer. In 2019, George Springer's stats were so otherworldly and so godly, it almost leaves my jaw dropped and I can't pick it back up. I'm going to put up his stats right now because I don't know them off the top of my head, but they are godly for the amount of games that he played. He was pretty decent in 2020. He wasn't the same guy, but in the playoffs, he knows his job. He knows how to do it almost as well as anyone in Major League Baseball history. He is the missing piece for the Toronto Blue Jays, because Hyun-Jin Ryu, he got lit up. I think that he's going to be better going into the 2021 season. They have a bunch of different pieces that I think are going to get better. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he showed some promise that he's going to progress as a overall baseball player. Maybe he loses some weight and becomes a better athlete. Kevin Biggio, Teoscar Hernandez, you have Randall Grichuk. They have a ton of pieces in place to perform well in the American League East, although the Yankees are going to be good, and then the Red Sox are coming for blood as well. So it is going to be tough. The Blue Jays might have to settle for a wild card spot, but if they can get George Springer in that outfield, they might be just as good as the Red Sox going into next season. So please let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think the Blue Jays should go after George Springer, or do you think they maybe need help with the bullpen or the starting pitchers first and foremost? And that does it for today's video. Let me know your opinions on the top 10 starting pitchers of all time, and especially Brian Kenny putting Lefty Grove at the number 1 spot. You have Bryce Harper getting lied to. John Middleton said, we're going to spend all of the money in the world to make sure that Bryce Harper has the winning pieces around him. They lied to him, and then the Nationals win a World Series, so it kind of sucks to be Bryce Harper, not going to lie. And then you have the George Springer rumors going to Toronto. I think that would be a lot of fun. The ball flies there, so George Springer would have a fun time in that pinball machine ballpark that they call Rogers Center. But thank you all so much for watching. Stay safe out there. I'm happy that I was able to report about baseball, because baseball, my favorite thing in the world. Catch you guys later. Peace out.